Good afternoon, everyone. We're here again today. We're about a day out from feeling the first signs of Fiona. And I know when I went home last night, my husband had already removed most of the patio furniture from the deck and all of our plants. So I suggest that everyone else try and do the same. I've received another briefing from EMO leadership and have also met with my cabinet colleagues today to give them an update on the current Fiona situation. Tanya is here with me, and she'll provide another update on the track of the storm and the details on our preparedness efforts from a whole province perspective. To all our residents, I know you'll be hearing this often, but we're going to keep repeating it. Please plan for the worst and let's hope for the best. That includes updated plans for your household, extra supplies, including food and medicine, fuel, pet food, and anything you would need for at least 72 hours. I also want to address those visiting Prince Edward Island. I'm sure when you planned your trip, it wasn't to come here and experience a hurricane, but and maybe it's the first time you experience any kind of weather conditions like we were expecting. I would just suggest that you reach out to the accommodations that you're staying with and or with the municipality, and they should be able to direct you for any questions or concerns that you have. What is clear is that the window for preparing for this is closing, and I know we all have the kind of second thought about, well, I'll just wait and see what's going to happen. But what I'm telling everyone and what we really want to stress is the storm is coming. I'm not trying to scare anyone, but we need to ready ourselves and make sure we're prepared. Our provincial EMO team has activated to a level 2 this morning. And what that means is we're bringing in more partners around the table, government departments like Social Development and Housing, Transportation, municipalities, ITSS. We're also hearing from Public Safety Canada, and in fact, I have a call with Minister Blair, the federal minister, after the press conference. Agency partners like Maritime Electric, Insurance Bureau of Canada, community organizations like Canadian Red Cross. Together, we're looking at business continuity plans. I know it's a very charged time for everyone involved because they're helping with our preparedness plan. At the same time, they're getting their own preparations in place. So thank you very much for your hard work. As part of our efforts to reach residents across the island, especially in the event that we lose power for extended periods of time, we're working to finalize our information sharing network. One of the steps we're taking is through the Fire Marshal's office, requesting additional support from our island fire services. They will be the extra ears and eyes on the ground during the storm when it makes landfall here in P.E.I, and they will be able to contact provincial EMO with potential washouts and flooding, blocked roads, damaged infrastructure, power outages, and whatever else might happen. These are men and women who are going to be some of the first to be on the ground to respond. My sincere thanks to you for stepping up and being there for Islanders like you always are. I want to add something that I heard the Fire Marshal share with our island firefighters, and I think it's a message that warrants repeating. We stay safe and we come home. And that's what we want everyone to do. We want Islanders to stay safe and stay at home until we are given the all clear. And now I'll turn this over to Tanya to share more information.
Thank you, Minister. So I'll start with a quick update, just what we received this morning from our daily briefing with the Canadian Hurricane Center. So certainly Fiona is staying on track, although the track kind of is wobbling a little bit, but it is still true to what the forecast is and what we shared yesterday with we will experience the heavy rain, the high winds, and we will kind of feel, I won't say the full force of Fiona, but because one of the key points that they shared is that it doesn't make a difference whether or not this storm transitions to a post-tropical storm or it retains as a hurricane. A lot of people will hear post-tropical and think, oh, it's no longer a hurricane, I don't have to worry about it. But the words from there was, it doesn't matter. The storm will be significant. We will feel impacts. So again, that window, as the minister referenced, is shrinking quite significantly. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, you will see rain and wind, That's not quite Fiona yet. We are going to be experiencing a low system that's kind of moving across Canada into Atlantic Canada, and that's actually what's kind of sucking Fiona in over the Maritimes and onto a P.E.I. So we're going to have rain starting tomorrow morning. We're going to see some winds, but they're going to get increasingly stronger throughout the day. But Fiona really won't be felt, if I could say that, till later on Friday evening and in the overnight hours. Even into Saturday, when we get up, and I know you're going to be wanting to get out the door and look at damage, it would be really strongly encouraged that you stay indoors until we are confident that A, it's safe to be doing that, and that we know that the storm has passed. We will continue to see significant wind throughout the day on Saturday, and even maybe even lingering into some time on Sunday. As we said yesterday, and today again, it is an all hands on deck. There is that everyone has a role to play in preparedness. We're working with that provincial coordination piece, but residents, visitors, if you need to reach out, please do so. And again, help your neighbors if there's a need across the way. You want to make sure that we're reaching out. And we're doing the same. We're reaching out to our neighbors, our Atlantic Canada partners in EMO, and as well as our critical infrastructure partners, to make sure that they're prepared and that we can be supportive to each other. Yesterday, Social Development Housing announced their plans for opening up the Jack Blanchard Centre kind of for an emergency shelter space. So as my understanding is that they will be planning to open up some additional locations. So and as we hear more about that, we will be sharing that information with you. As noted as well, our plans to share information, again, going back to Dorian, this was a challenge for us, loss of power, loss of internet. So we want people to be prepared for that. We're going to work all our resources and networks to distribute that information. It might be going through various government locations, fire service, our provincial conservation officers will be additional eyes out in the communities. And then once we have some information to share, we'll be working really hard to make sure that you have that information, regardless of what community you're in, from Tignish to East Point. We'll make sure that you're getting the up-to-date information. Once the storm passes, certainly again, the urge to go outside will beckon you, but if I could ask you just to hold on. One of the concerns that we would have is that emergency response will need to take priority. So if there's debris on the road, they're going to have to be, navigating through that. And if they have additional people on the roads that are, blocking access or becoming more of a barrier to that, we want to make sure that they have primary access to respond to emergencies. So again, if you could resist the urge to go out, we'll be briefing, I presume, on Saturday, so we can provide you an update in the afternoon post Fiona's arrival. So I guess be patient with us, let people respond to the emergency needs, and stay safe indoors. Damage assessment will certainly take some time. It's going to be difficult, again, to access certain places, and we'll need to reach out to many of our partners to kind of glean what information they have and the reports. So it will take a few days, likely, to even get the first ideas on what kind of damage assessment and damage reports that we'll be looking at, and what the following days will look like. So as noted, we'll be doing some regular updates. We'll be coming back here again tomorrow, and then Saturday, and then we'll kind of gauge where we need to go and how often, based on what that the scope of damage would be. I think that's all I have. I'm happy to take some questions.
Hi, it's Cody with CBC P.E.I. What's your single biggest concern about the storm that's coming?
I said yesterday, I think the uncertainty, but I think now the certainty is starting to get narrowed in a little bit. Storm surge is certainly going to be significant. The words that they were using with Canadian Hurricane Center is historic storm surge. So flooding that we have not seen, and nor can we measure against. We had Juan. We were measuring against Juan yesterday, and now they're kind of saying, well, that may not be sufficient to really prepare us for what we can anticipate. So again, to Minister's point, is we got to prepare for the worst and just hope that the best will be experienced.
Okay. So on that historic note you just said, and the storm surges that are happening, that could happen, are there any particular areas that you're looking at, anything specific around the province, like coastal areas or roads?
Right now, they're suggesting the north side would be more vulnerable because of the direction of the wind. So not only are you going to have the north wind coming up against the coastline, but you're going to have all the storm kind of churning up the water and waves. So we're going to have pressure of the water up against the shore on top of the waves, on top of all the wind, and constant for up to 8, 10, 12 hours. So that is going to cause erosion and damage to any property around those coastal areas. We could still have storm surge impacts on the south side of the province and on the east and west sides coast, but most significantly they're suggesting the north side at this point.
Gotcha. So on shelters, there's people that are going to temporary shelters in Charlottetown as well as Summerside. They have all sorts of property with them, bicycles, it could be tents, backpacks, whatever it is. Where can they store all that? What are they doing with that stuff?
I would have to direct you to Social Development and Housing. I'm assuming that they're making plans and considerations for that. I'm not familiar with what their plans are to that detail.
Okay. Did I hear you correctly that there are other temporary shelter locations that are being talked about?
That's what Social Development and Housing has I think they have messaged that out, that they're considering opening additional ones, but we haven't been provided that detail, but we will when they announce that.
Okay, so you're not sure if it would be in the capital or outside in other regions?
Absolutely. Don't
Okay.
know.
I think that's all my questions. Just the last one. What was done in advance of today? Preventative measures that took place maybe in the middle of this week earlier?
A lot of the work that we do is reaching out to all those agencies, government departments, organizations, businesses, municipalities, and encourage them to make sure that their plans are up to date, testing generators, topping up fuel. I spoke to the City of Charlottetown earlier today and asked, I'm assuming that they're doing manhole covers, making sure all the leaf and debris around manholes to ensure all that is cleaned up and able for water to flow. Generators are topped up, tested, all those kind of preparedness activities that they have within all their municipal plans and our government plans as well, is just kind of making sure that it's still valid. Even in our shop, we were updating computers, making sure all the Windows updates went through so that we wouldn't get lagged behind when we go to plug everything in.
Yeah. So I guess final question for me, would be either of you. What do you have to say to people who are suffering from homelessness or experiencing homelessness around the province, and what they're looking forward to in this storm that's coming?
I'll take that question. I would say to reach out to Social Development and Housing, reach out to the province, and voice their concerns and what their needs are, and the department would be more than happy to help them with that.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
So our meteorologists are forecasting as high as 140 kilometer per hour winds. Charlottetown's a city of trees. What can we expect that to look like?
Trees will come down. Again, listening to CBC and Canadian Hurricane Center, all the rain that we experienced this week has saturated the ground and loosened the root system of those trees. So now they're going to be more susceptible. They're also in full leaf. So that's just going to make them like a boat sail. So they're going to more easily topple. Now, again, it all depends on direction and length, duration. They are forecasting that storm might slow down a little bit, so we would have those high winds at a longer time. So again, 8 to 10, 12 hours. And I do believe the top end of the winds are wind gusts, not sustained winds. So that's also just a note. We could still see sustained winds at around 100, 120. And then it could be higher, because in certain areas you're going to see wind speeds a little bit different.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I think we have some.
Yes, hi.
Yeah, sir, go ahead.
Hi. I was wondering if you plan to ask for help from New Brunswick or Quebec to ensure that power will be available quickly after Fiona.
Making requests for additional power supports and resources is a task that Maritime Electric do. I do know actually from Quebec through our partners through EMO that they actually pre-deployed resources from Quebec over to the Magdalene Islands. They came through yesterday and today, so they should be already at the Magdalenes. In regards to New Brunswick, had a conversation with the Director of Public Safety and EMO over there this morning, and they've already indicated that they are willing to support us, especially if they are not impacted. So we have that capability. In addition, we have capability to reach to any province and territory across the country and make that request. We have a standing memorandum of understanding, as well with our New England partners, our New England states. We have that same MOU to make requests for additional resources if we need them.
And I had also a question about shelters. I was wondering if you have any idea of how many people would need to be protected during the weekend.
I would say that question again should be directed to social development and housing. You know, we're working across all departments, and the ministers and the deputies and the whole department are all looking at what they need to do and what the needs will be for Islanders.
Thank you.
Cody McEachern.
No questions. Thank you.
Joey Blackyer.
Yes, just wondering, with this hurricane, what kind of impact will this have on our Islanders on P.E.I.?
Sorry, what was can you just repeat the question? Impact on what?
Islanders.
On Islanders. So again, I think, you know,
Islanders.
Am I catching the right word?
Yeah.
Sorry, I want to make sure I have the right word. If you're asking the question is what kind of impacts we could experience, is that correct?
I'm asking, like what kind of impacts this will have on Islanders on P.E.I.
Okay, sure. So I think with the high winds and rain, storm surge, what we are anticipating is coastal flooding, coastal erosion as well from storm surge, heavy rain, you know, individuals' properties. You could imagine that if you are in a low-lying area, you could potentially have water in your basement. So, you know, checking on your sump pumps would be important. Power outage will probably be the most specific and significant one that we will know will happen. And as a result of power outages, you may lose access to your cell phone, to internet as well, and then there's going to be the impacts to businesses that may not be able to provide services because they may not have power either. So it will have broad and quite extensive impacts to all Islanders, and again, that's why we're encouraging folks to make sure you're well prepared in advance of that.
And my second question is, what kind of impacts will this hurricane have on yacht clubs on P.E.I.?
So they usually, I know the Charlottetown Yacht Club anyway, have a standard evacuation protocol when there is a hurricane in place. So most of the yacht clubs or even marinas, basically they decide and dictate to the boat owners whether or not they need to remove their boats from the wharfs. So I would anticipate, and I think I've already seen some boats already being pulled from Charlottetown Harbor, so that would be a kind of an individual harbor authority question.
Okay, so the impacts with the storm surges now, what kind of winds are we looking at sustainable and otherwise?
So right now what they're saying is a range of anywhere from 100-kilometer winds up to 140, and that will be different at different points of the province depending on how far or close they are to that center of that track. It will be coming from the north, so the north side, that's why we suggested earlier that the north side of the province will be more severely impacted from that storm surge. So sustained and gusts is kind of a range, so I don't want to nail that down by suggesting an amount, but we can certainly comfortably say there is the range between 100 and 140 kilometer winds, probably more closer to the 100 of sustained winds and up to 140 kilometer gusts.
And along with that, I guess, what can anyone with a physical challenge have? Can they do, like, how could the media, like myself or any other outlet, keep up to date on the hurricane with or without power. It's one I had myself.
Absolutely. So one of the things that we suggest, to have in your your emergency kit, would be a battery-operated radio so that you could receive or listen to updates in the event of a power outage. We are working pretty closely with our media folks as we are here today to make sure that they'll be receiving information on a regular basis so that they can then be reporting on that information as well. So as reception centers are opened or municipalities are looking to share information, we'll be filtering that to the media so that radio stations can be playing it. We know whether or not you have, again, the key point would to make sure that you have a radio that can operate with batteries so that you can listen to that. Alternatively, the other option is that if you have a vehicle, you can always get in your vehicle and listen to the radio that way, making sure that you obviously are parking on outside and not running it indoors. But that is always an alternative option. And additionally, I could say is make sure you have connection with kind of a support network, somebody that you can call or reach to or will check on you so that if you are without power, that you are, someone's going to check on if they haven't heard from you and can share that information with you.
And what else was it? Now, with that, I'm just wondering now, are you looking at sending out, say, text messaging?
That would be a question for comms. We typically use some of our social media posts, not necessarily text messaging, because we would need to have people's cell phone numbers in order to do that. But we will be putting out tweets and Facebook. So if you follow public safety on Twitter and Facebook, you will get those messages.
Okay, that's because I'm actually with, like I said, Eye-Opening Views, and we have a online news blog that I usually write for. So if you'd like, I could send that link to you, Tanya, if you'd like me to send it.
I would suggest send it to our communication folks that would have reached out to you today in regards to setting up inviting you to this, so they would have that so they can make sure that you're well linked.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much, everyone. We'll be back again tomorrow with more updates, and thank you for listening, and just remember, be as prepared as you possibly can. Thank you.